Hey everyone, welcome back. My name's Dustin Kreis, and today we are going to do part three of my marathon of the Mother series. We're going to do a game discussion, and we're going to discuss Mother 3. A Game Boy Advance game that came out in 2005. Sadly, tragically, never released outside Japan. And then some very intrepid people came along, and they fan translated the game, and the rest is history. The West has finally got to play the game for a good while now. The translation's been out for a while. This is not my first time playing Mother 3. It's my first time finishing Mother 3, but I tried to play the game a while back, and I got, I want to say, to chapter 3 in the game, and then my emulator just decided to erase my save data. And I was so just kind of infuriated with the emulator and my PC at the time that I just shelved the game and didn't go back to it for a while. And then, here recently we had the release of Earthbound and Earthbound Beginnings on the Wii U, and I just decided, damn it, I have it on my PSP on the emulator. It's time to sit down and finally play this game. And I'm glad that I did it the way I did, which is to play Earthbound Beginnings, Earthbound, and then Mother 3 back-to-back. The entire trilogy back-to-back. Because it really shows the progression of the series just amazingly well. If you guys have the ability to do this, I highly suggest picking a series, preferably one that's not insanely long like Final Fantasy or Tales. And play the games back to back and watch the progression of the games. And if you can, try to do it with the original games, like with the Dragon Quest series. Instead of playing like the DS remakes and then the iPhone games, go back and play the NES ones and just see where the progressions, how they came. Play the Super Nintendo versions of 5 and 6. And it's really kind of an eye-opening experience. It's kind of an education in a way, and I'm really glad I did it, because you see the humble beginnings of Earthbound in Mother 1, and then you get to the refinement of Mother 2, how they took everything from there's so many names for these damn games. They took everything from Mother 1, put it in Mother 2, and refined it, and then Mother 3 is just a further refinement of Earthbound in the terms of its narrative. And it took me a while to get into Mother 3. I'm not going to lie to you. And if I was pushed into a corner and asked which one do you like more, I think I would still go with Earthbound over Mother 3. Simply because I have the nostalgia factor with Earthbound. I like the fact that Earthbound is a satire on American culture, whereas Mother 3 kind of does its own thing. I like the varied locations that you go to in Earthbound, as opposed to sort of the very small island you're on in Mother 3. But if I was just looking at the narrative, the story, Mother 3 just stomps all over the other two games. A very affecting, very moving little tale about two brothers. It's really a story about a family, and sort of how it's kind of this weird thing about how maybe it's just my interpretation, or maybe I could go and look at what the creator's intention was with this. But for me, it really feels like when you're a young kid, your family unit is very tight. You guys do things together, and as you grow older, better or worse, technology comes in and kind of pulls the family apart, and events happen and strain the family a little bit. And it's really kind of about overcoming this invasion of technology into this very idyllic memory of childhood. Overcoming that and trying to reclaim that idealism of this, utopian family ideal. I don't know. I'm not exactly sure how to quite put it into words yet. But I'm sure that's the intention of the scenario, because the game starts off on this very idyllic little town, and then as it progresses, things tend to get a little worse and worse and worse, and it's no different, than Earthbound in a way. You start out in Onet, which is very kind of a very idyllic little suburb town, and then as you move out further and further and further into the world, things get more dangerous and more scary and things like that. So it's not far removed from what Earthbound did, but it's a little bit more, I guess, because of the way the story is, the characters are much more developed. It focuses on a smaller area instead of being like this broad satire of American culture. It really does a lot more with what it's trying to get across. And you can either go into it and look for all these little things, the happy boxes, and how everybody was, as they got the happy boxes, which kind of substitutes for a television, people were happier before they got these happy boxes, and as they got them, and they progress through the games, they get kind of sadder, and their lives, because you interact with the same townspeople for the entire game. And it's kind of in a weird way, kind of like Majora's Mask. As you interact with these characters more and more, you get to understand them more and more, and their lives kind of unravel in a way. And it's kind of really sad to watch certain characters kind of go down into the gutter. Really just from its thematic premise, the game is just absolutely top-notch. Put into it also the fact that this has one of the most moving storylines I've seen in a video game. And plus, it's on a Game Boy Advance game, which usually, up to a certain point, portable games were never as good as their console counterparts. And it really was kind of the Game Boy Advance that started this push towards the fact that, hey, we can do more on this system than just make a dumbed-down port of a game that we have on the console. And Mother 3, I mean, it's right up there with that Earthbound on Super Nintendo. Right up there with it, man. Like I said, I give it to Earthbound still for the nostalgia factor and liking more the broad strokes of the satire of American culture. And I was talking to Senkai from Accent on Gamers, and we were kind of opposites. I like Earthbound more because I like the weird for the sake of being weird. Like, Earthbound will just do weird shit for no reason whatsoever, just to be weird. Whereas in Mother 3, the weird stuff is more tied into the storyline. It makes more sense. But I like the more just bizarre nature of Earthbound, whereas he sort of prefers the more, I don't want to say realistic. Realistic's not the right word. He prefers the more integrated bizarreness of Mother 3. But man, just top-notch storyline. It hooks you right at the... no. Let me rephrase that. It does not hook you right at the beginning. The first 3 chapters are kind of a prologue to the main game. And while it tells a very good story in that prologue, at the same time, you're kind of like... when things going to get going here, which you have that in a lot of games. A lot of games really take a long time to set up the thrust of the storyline, and then once you get to that thrust of the storyline, you're off and you're good. And once you get to chapter 4 is where the main storyline shoots off. Man, you're off and you're going. But those first 3 chapters, for me anyway, because you switch characters a lot. And it just felt a little unfocused, maybe. I don't know. But once you get to chapter 4 and you're off, man, it is a ride. And I really enjoyed the storyline of Mother 3. Combat. Pretty much the same stuff you had in Mother... God, so many fucking names for these games. That's the one bad thing about Japanese games. When they bring them over here, they feel they have to change the title, and then it's like, Dragon Warrior and Dragon Quest. They couldn't use Dragon Quest because of, somebody having the rights to it. Mother, they didn't think would translate right over here, so they called it Earthbound. Yeah, it just it gets so difficult sometimes with these Japanese RPGs that have completely different names in different regions. Pretty much the same combat that you have in Earthbound, except that there's a new sort of rhythm game kind of incorporated into it. Whereas if you can find the beat of the enemies, which you can do really easily by putting them to sleep, and you hit the A button in time with their heartbeat, you would do successive combos. So you can get up to a 16 hit combo or something like that. I don't think I got anything beyond a 3. In fact, I got to the point where I just ditched trying to even use this. I would just hammer on the button when they attacked and hope for the best. I am not good at rhythm games. I have never been good at rhythm games. And anytime a game kind of requires me to do a rhythm game type thing, Drakengard 3, I kind of don't do it. Because I'm just not good at it. I was in a band. I have a good sense of timing. It's just, if I was playing music, I can play to the beat, but for some reason, pushing a button to a beat, I have a hard time doing it. I don't know why. It's probably more psychosomatic than anything. It's just, I freak myself out. Same thing with QuickTime events. I can't do QuickTime events very well either. So, but for those of you who can do it, there is a cool little combo system that I guess, talking to Senkai, again, he says can pretty much break the game. So if you're into that thing, there you go. You can easily, I guess, break the game and bosses will not be able to touch you. But other than that, in the gameplay aspect, it's pretty much Earthbound. There's not a whole lot of differences. There's no teleport spell this time, which is a good thing because the teleport spell in Earthbound, the series as a whole, is just hard as hell to use. Because if you use Teleport A or Teleport Alpha, you need a long stretch of land to run to build up speed to teleport. Or if you use Teleport Beta, you have to spiral around and try to keep your teammates from spiraling out into the surrounding area. Or otherwise the spell fizzles and you have to start over again. So it not being in Mother 3 is okay in my book because the landmass is much smaller. You're not traveling from different towns. You're staying in one town and watching the town develop and then sort of crumble. It works, you don't really need it. It doesn't take very long to get around the landmass. There's a nice dash feature, which Earthbound Beginnings had. And then it got really kind of annoying in Earthbound because there was no dash and you had to walk around that very slow pace. And to have the dash back is a very nice thing. You hold down the B button, they kind of build up speed, and then they'll run until you run into something or you hit the B button to stop them. Very nice, gets around dungeons very easily. However, it doesn't really help you all that much getting away from enemies on the screen because they are still big and they're still fast and they will catch you and you'll get a red screen and they'll get first strike. And in some regards, I found the combat and the gameplay in general in Mother 3 to be a lot easier, except in certain areas. Again, it's kind of like it was with the whole series and RPGs in general. You'll just be going along at a very brisk pace, and then all of a sudden you'll just hit a brick wall and not be able to beat enemies, and you have to kind of slowly grind levels up until you can deal with them, and then you're off on a brisk pace again until you hit that brick wall again. Same thing with the rest of the series, but for the most part, hot springs are plentiful. So in dungeons, I mean, I've had people die, but their hot springs are plentiful. Save points are plentiful. It's really not that difficult of a game. I don't want to talk about that. I don't want to ruin that for people who have not played it yet. But anyway, it's bad when you do these things unscripted and your brain's kind of clicking while you're talking, and sometimes you might start talking about something that could be potentially a spoiler, And if I've already done that for you guys, I apologize, because while I'm talking, this is still like going. I know it makes me look crazy. So sometimes I start talking about things on games, and then I realize, oh, I probably shouldn't talk about that because people could, potentially be spoiled on it. Graphically, I really like the graphics of Mother 3. It takes all the charm of the characters of Earthbound and just makes the character models, the little sprites, more detailed. Instead of them all being the same height and sort of Dragon Quest meets Peanuts, that kind of look. It kind of developed its own aesthetic, and some characters are tall now, some characters are short. There's a nice variety in the character sizes, and it's really nice to see these sprites that you recognize from Earthbound, but just see them kind of done a little differently, but yet still maintain the look of the Earthbound sprites. It's really kind of a cool thing. Graphically, it's a beautiful game, and a sprite-based game on the Game Boy Advance, there's absolutely no reason this game should not be beautiful. And Earthbound, Earthbound, God, I'm doing it again. Mother 3. I tell you what, when they bring this thing out over here in the States, because they're working on it to put it on the eShop, they're going to give it some Earthbound, someone said Earthbound endings or something like that, and then things are just going to get even more confusing, and I'm glad I'm done with this, making videos for the series until the fan-made Mother 4 gets made, which I'm still waiting on Nintendo to throw down the cease and desist, but we'll see what happens. Anyway, I lost my train of thought. The graphics are beautiful, beautiful sprite-based graphics. Really a kind of a cinematic type thing. A lot more than Earthbound. Like, there's a lot more cinematic cutscenes that are, it's Game Boy Advance, but at the same time, me being a fan of that style, I really loved the cinematic cutscenes in Mother 3. As far as the music goes, when it was doing throwbacks to the Earthbound tracks, I was really enjoying myself. And some of the other songs, the newer songs, were kind of catchy too. But as a whole, the music didn't really grab me as much as Earthbound's music did. And I don't know, because I'm going to be honest with you, I don't really look into this stuff as much as other people. I don't know if it was a different composer for Mother 3. Of course, as soon as I get done with this, I'll get on Wikipedia and look it up, and feel like an idiot either way because I didn't know. But for some reason, the music just didn't grab me as much as the music from previous games did, which towards the end, you kind of go through these long hallways in the march towards the final boss. And it was like replaying music from the old games. Like, it replayed the title theme from Mother 1, which I really actually kind of enjoy that song. Even though it's very tingy and 8-bit, I still really enjoy that little song. And then it replayed some music from Earthbound during a segment, kind of where you relive memories, not memories, but, kind of memories. I'll let you guys figure it out. From the old games. And the music plays, and kind of, you get these really nostalgic vibes, because you can kind of feel like this game was meant to tie up the trilogy, because it makes references to the older games, kind of ties them all in together, and it's a really satisfying experience once you finish it, even though it kind of leaves room open for a fourth one, which hopefully the fans that are making Mother 4 take all that into account. I'm sure they will, because they're probably big Mother fans. But yeah, musically, really good stuff, but not as good as Earthbound's music. Not by a long shot. That's just me. You might love the Mother 3 soundtrack. I don't know. But yeah, taken as a whole, man, gosh, this is a fantastic series. I mean, granted, Earthbound Beginnings, Mother 1, is a bit rough. It's kind of a diamond in the rough if you like the series, so you can see the origin of things and stuff like that. But it is rough. And then Earthbound is just sheer 16-bit perfection. And then Mother 3 is just as good as Earthbound in the gameplay department. Technically, it's the better game because the storyline is a lot better. But I still hold on to Earthbound as my favorite in the series because I love that viewing American culture through the lens of the Japanese. I think that game is just flat out hilarious, even though there's a lot of really funny moments in Mother 3. I guess that's something else I should talk about, is the tone of Mother 3. Because whereas the Mother series has always had this sort of dichotomy between light and dark, humor and horror, this game has some real moments of sadness, and I think that's what I wasn't prepared for the most, because Earthbound Beginnings has a few dark moments. Earthbound itself has a lot of dark moments, but nothing really truly like sad. And Mother 3 has a lot of just really kind of sad little moments in it, and it's definitely it's not friggin' what was that game called? God damn it, it's bugging me now. It's no Fragile Dreams. All right, this is probably still the saddest game I've ever played. Most depressing game I've ever played. But it definitely has its moments of sadness in it. But I guess, you'll have to see where that all goes in the storyline, which is excellent. It's a tragedy. It's a tragedy that it never came over here. There's so many games that have never made it over here. I've been playing translated imports, for a while now, and when you play your first one, it just makes you wonder, what else are you missing out on? And even after playing a bunch of fan-translated games, I'm still like, what am I missing out on? What else have they not shown me, And this is definitely one of the ones that you should try out. Especially if you're a fan of Earthbound, you need to play Mother 3. You need to finish the series. It's amazing. It's really good. And it's really sad that it didn't make it out over here. I don't know what else to say about Mother 3. I'm really glad I did the series the way I did. I enjoyed my marathon of the Souls series, even though there were times where I was wondering, what the hell am I doing? But doing this has been nothing but enjoyment. Some frustration with Earthbound Beginnings because it is a rough game. But, man, great games. Just a great, great, great series. Great RPG series. Everyone should try it out. If you don't like Earthbound, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know what to think about that. Because I play these games, especially Earthbound itself. I played Earthbound so many times. I just don't understand how someone can not enjoy Earthbound. Play them. If you don't like them, play them again. And if you still don't like them, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. Anyway, that is it for this video. Working on something for the podcast, for its channel, which there is a new episode up, by the way. We had a temporary substitution for Chance while he was out doing family business, but he'll be back in style in the next one. But yeah, working on something for the podcast channel. Actually, we're trying to do a lot more with the podcast channel because, which if you haven't checked us out, another gaming podcast down below. Because we've been feeling like we've been slacking. So we're going to try to pick that up. And yeah, I don't know what else. Because I'm sitting here looking at my pickups and for the last, month and a half, and it's all Blu-rays. I haven't bought a game. Well, I bought some digital games, but I haven't really been buying games. So, been playing the backlog stuff, which I'm having a blast doing. So anyway, I've rambled. I've done my video, and I've rambled, so I'm done. It's a good game. Go play Mother 3. Alright, I want to thank you guys so much for watching. Take care. I'll see you next time.